isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at PAHLincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital. Your pet, their passion. For happier, healthier, furry friends.
A lot of businesses say they're family focused, but when tough situations in life arise, the business wants anything but your best interests. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring, and they will always treat their employees like family, just as they do their customers. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring Class A and B CDL drivers, a shop tech, and a diesel mechanic. If you're looking for a career with a company that goes above and beyond to value you and your family, apply today at jamesenterpriseinc.com or call 402-432-6740.
When opportunity knocks, you don't want to miss the call. Hamilton Business Technologies makes communication easy and efficient using customized technology, all while putting people first. Whether you're working from the office, at home, or on the go, Hamilton Business Technologies equips your business with the right tools for smooth, professional call handling. Hamilton Business Technologies. Real people, real technology solutions. Learn more at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
LES wants your feedback. Help shape your electric utility's direction and priorities by taking an anonymous online survey. Make your voice heard before the survey closes on April 30th at les.com/survey.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Spring is here. It's time to get back outside and into proper shoes this year. Brown's Shoe Fit is the place to buy this spring with their sale on athletic shoes. Get $15 off any regular priced athletic shoes with respected brands like Hoka, Brooks, New Balance, and On Running. And don't forget, Brown's carries a large arrangement of sizes and widths to fit your feet properly. Start your spring off right at Brown's Shoe Fit, just south of 66th and Q in Lincoln. Spring is the time of new beginnings and trying new things. If you haven't tried Führer's cheese spread yet, the time is now. For parties for St. Patrick's Day and Easter or celebrating the NCAA tournament with friends, there's no better dip to bring everyone together and celebrate something from Nebraska. Get to your local grocery store today and load up on Führer's cheese spread. No event or party is complete without it on your table.
John Henry's has a brand new membership club to protect your entire home in one program. With a VIP and a deluxe option, we will help you find the plan that best fits your needs. Receive discounts on services and equipment, priority service, complimentary inspections, and so much more. Protect your home's plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical systems all in one membership. Call John Henry's to learn more.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air,
and Electrical.
Perch Merch is your one-stop shop for all your printing and promotional needs in Lincoln, Nebraska. They specialize in screen printing, embroidery, vehicle wraps, window wraps, print print collateral, promotional products, and signage. At Perch Merch, they are committed to delivering high-quality products and exceptional customer service. Their experienced team of designers and printing professionals will work with you every step of the way to ensure that your vision is realized. Call for a quote today at 402-217-5212 or go to perch-merch.com.
Your new Total Wine in Lincoln has the largest selection of wines, spirits, and beers, plus totally low prices and friendly service from our helpful guides. With over 8,000 wines, 4,500 spirits, and 2,500 beers, you're sure to find your favorites and something new. You can even order delivery, in-store, or curbside pickup. Find what you love what you find, only at Total Wine and More. Now open in Lincoln next to Gateway Mall.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is the Don't Punt Hour with former Nebraska receiver.
Throwing over the middle, completes the pass. He's got speed to the end zone. Touchdown! 45 yards.
And return specialist.
This time he beats the kicker and one more.
DeMornay Pierson-El.
Not only does the sideline have confidence in Pierson-El, but Pierson-El has confidence in Pierson-El.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome in to the Don't Punt Hour. Harrison Arns on the ones and twos. As always, you guys can join in via the Starter Heyman text line, 402-464-5685. And you can put a face to the voice, Facebook, YouTube, X, Allo, Channel 961. We do got the Royals on the brick and mortar, but you guys can always listen via the streams and the Ticket app. But let's go ahead and bring him in. Morning, Pierson-El. How's it going on a windy Tuesday?
I'm pissed off. Houston got me pissed.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you started with that. That's where we're starting. We're starting with the Cougars' downfall. What was a really impressive start from both squads. Where do you want to start with this? I mean, you want to talk about the disappointment that Houston lost, or do you want to talk about just the pace of the game in itself?
We can talk about the pace of the game itself.
Okay, I was telling Jackson this, one of our ticket workers here, like in the first few minutes of that game, the thing that sticks out is like wherever Nebraska's at, we're a bit away. Those two teams are big, they're athletic, they are a lot of just good shooters. I mean, those teams were just really impressed.
Both teams were complete teams, period.
Yeah. They each team with a little bit different strengths. Houston's defense, certainly, how they got that lead. They were actually at the half shooting worse percentage wise, getting out rebounded, but they were forcing turnovers, doing what that Houston defense always does, which is make you uncomfortable and cough the ball up when you don't want to. And they're great at, cleaning up on those opportunities. Then the second half comes along, and you got to get credit to Florida's offense for being relentless, but also, what do you think went wrong for Houston there in that second half?
I think they got too reluctant on just the three. They got real trigger happy. Closing out the first half, they were getting down the hill, they were getting to the bucket, they were getting easy twos. They were making it easy. They kept it hard. I feel like in the second half that they went away with that aggressiveness, and they were just settling on a lot of stuff just because they were hot or just because it was falling. Wasn't necessarily bad shots, but it just wasn't a high strong percentage shot, and I think they just fell in love with that just because it was hitting. And, they had momentum and whatnot. And I mean, that ended up hurting them and getting Florida back in the game.
Yeah. And again, for the turnovers, also that slowed down a little bit. At the break, they forced 9 turnovers. Florida did a good job cleaning it up themselves. They finished the game with 13. So they cut that turnover ratio in half in that second half, which is much needed. I mean, if Florida goes out of the game 18 turnovers, they definitely didn't come out with a win. They actually only finished the game with 13. Houston did a good job throughout the entire game. 9 turnovers, not perfect, but not too bad either. Percentage-wise, though, I mean, this was where Florida, to me, was the most impressive. Their size was actually playing some pretty good defense. Both teams didn't shoot the ball all that great. Houston, 34% on the night. Florida, 40%. And then the three-point shot that you were talking about, why either team just kept going to it. It wasn't working for either of them. Florida was 6 for 24. Houston was 6 for 25. Each shooting at about 25% from 3, not what you'd want. And then Houston, 9 for 14 on free throws as well. The thing that killed Houston was just shooting. I mean, from the free throws to the 3-point line to the shoot 2-shot percentages, I mean, it just wasn't an efficient day for him. And when you're
if they just kept attacking, Florida was on their heels. Their big guys were a bit in trouble. You know what I'm saying? They had an impossible task. If the guard keeps it, that's an easy two. If they hedge too much and help, it's a lob on their head. So I'm like that. Like, why go away from that? Or why go away from, I mean, well, their bigs started to play a lot better with defending Houston bigs. But again, I mean, you can still put them in a compromising position with a two-man game. I didn't like, and I didn't see enough from all of Houston's guards in the second half. Some of them showed up. Some of them, got hot here and there, but they all were trying to live beyond the three. When it's like all of y'all are athletic, all of y'all are fast, all y'all can finish near the basket. And the refs were letting it happen. They're letting you play. They're letting get in rhythm and get what you want. And I think with them being on attack and getting downhill, I think would have played into how they wanted to. Because even though it was a fast game, Florida wasn't keeping up. And you kind of slowed things up. And, you were missing shots and Florida was going down, getting better, high quality shots that, they were chipping away. And that's that. And with, your last 4 possessions were all turnovers. If you get just two of those possessions points out of it, you walking out of there with a national championship.
Yeah. The turnovers at the end were absolutely gut wrenching. It made for an exciting finish. If you're going for Houston, not so much. But yeah, the 3-point shooting, again, to your point, like Emmanuel Sharp in that one, he was 1 for 7 for Houston on 3-point attempts. Got to pull back on that. Uzma was 0 for 4 on 3-point attempts. Cryer was all right, 4 for 11. You'll take that. And then Wilson off the bench, he was 1 for 2. But that 1 for 7 is brutal. I mean, you get one guy out there that's talking that many threes and he's only going to make one of them. That's going to hurt you. And then their starting lineup, Cryer was the only one with double digits. He had 19. Everybody else was just only single digit scoring, 8, 6, 8, 5. And then off the bench, you had 9 and 8. Like, you just weren't getting a ton of production anywhere outside of Cryer. And it's your point. Like, the best offense for either side looked like going downhill. Like, the refs were letting you play. That was pretty obvious that the refs weren't going to call everything, which was the right move. You look at the size of those two teams and how those guys want to play. You don't want to get into a game where it's just tick-tacky. You got to use that to your strength. And for whatever reason, Houston, they didn't take a ton of threes. Like I said, they only took 25, but your best bet was to take even less than that. Like, there's sometimes it's okay to take less than 20.
Get to I don't understand. You said, what was it, Sharp?
Yeah,
like
Sharp.
I think he was their best weapon with just like getting to the basket. And he was doing it, he was doing it at ease when he wanted to. And then, his shot was falling a little bit early on. It's like, why are you not, or creating, assists? Because every time you get into the teeth of the defense, they were corralling, throw it up. And I mean, they were getting out jumped. Florida's guys stopped jumping with Houston guys on offense and defense, and I know Houston's bigs kind of got in, foul trouble early on. And it kind of helped Florida out in the end, but Florida's bigs didn't want no parts of Houston's bigs, and it just wasn't enough to capitalize. And it's sad just because I don't think Florida was the better team. I don't.
I mean, the way the game ended, you would say no, but at the same time, it's like that was like the poor man's version of Houston. But also with Florida, I mean, if I had to pick again, run it back, I'd probably.
I'm
pick
still
Houston.
going to Houston.
Yeah. And that's entirely fair. I just don't want to take anything away from Florida. As much
they were the better team that day. Arguably, congratulations to them not taking that. But I just don't think. I mean, they got beat up early on. Like I said, they still fought. The game's not over till it's over. But kudos to them. But like I said, I'm taking Houston twice on Sunday.
Yeah, and I think, if you're going to run the simulation 100 times, you'd probably see Houston's coming out on top 60-40, maybe even more than that. But Florida that day was the better team. And again, when there's obviously the turnovers at the end were easy to point to as the reason why you lost the game. But throughout the course of the game, they weren't turning it over like crazy. He said you only ended the day with 9. It just, to me, it just still comes down to surprisingly offense that was pretty lackluster. Florida's defense isn't nothing to snuff at, but I thought Houston was going to have a lot of success. But maybe that Purdue game should have been a sign a little bit that Houston's offense, they can certainly find themselves in droughts. And when you talk about a guy like Sharp, not to pick on him so much, but it's like the curse of being a great shooter. Because we saw the same thing go with Connor Season for a little bit. Like, Sharp's a great 3-point shooter. More often than not, you're okay with those shots. He's about like 40% on the year. The problem is like those great shooters, when they don't have it that night, it takes a lot longer for them to figure that out than say your role player who's just going to.
And he hit a couple big shots, so it's not. It's not like
he was 3 for 11 on the night.
I don't think he was attacking the basket as much as he should have. And that's the part that hurt, because I think is the part that drove their offense.
Yeah, and they just needed some more free throws. Like, if you want to keep pointing to the box score and the team stats, like Florida got the edge there as well, right? They got more free throw attempts, and they also made more. 17 for 21. Houston only getting 14 free throws seems pretty low for their brand of basketball, and especially how you'd want to attack Florida. You'd think you'd want to go attack them downhill a lot, see if you can get their bigs in some foul trouble. Understanding they got some depth there. But, yeah, I mean, that last stretch of the game there's where Houston truly lost it, though. I mean, it makes sense of that stretch where it was just turnover after turnover for Houston, and they could not inbound the ball to save their lives.
It's I know they're kicking themselves in film, and I know this one is going to hurt them. Probably this one's going to hurt them for a long time.
They'll remember this when they're 70.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this will live with them.
You were right there, and I thought like around the 7-minute mark, like they would turn it on and kind of get into a rhythm again, and it just wasn't as consistent. They just didn't get as hot.
Yeah, and I want to see if I can go by the last few plays in particular, because it's just brutal for Houston on how that game ended for him. So yeah, you get the. Oh, man, I'm just picking on Emmanuel Sharp a lot now. I didn't even mean to, because he was the guy that turned it over as well. Houston calls the timeout, try to inbound it. Obviously, Emmanuel Sharp can't get the shot off. He tries to not travel, ended up turning it over. But up until that point, I mean, it was, Florida just chipping away, making free throws. Emmanuel Sharp had the last 2 turnovers. He's got to be really kicking himself. I'm not even trying to pick on him this much at this point, but, Emmanuel Sharp turnover with 26 seconds left to go. Houston fouls. Florida gets free throws. And then Houston has the ball. They once again, like I said, they try to inbound it to Emmanuel Sharp, and he turns it over. I guess that's where I'm probably most surprised by Houston not having that composure at the end. With a coach in Sampson, with a unit that feels like it's more veteran experience.
Is it Milos? Where was he at?
It's a great question.
Where was he at? What's the junior? Is it LJ? I think 4.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just nobody was hitting, and it just they all were just literally just like waiting on the edge to kind of catch fire with that and just take off with that. And it's just like all of y'all can handle the ball, all y'all can drive past people, and it's not like Florida was locking them up and they couldn't drive past them or anything like that. It's just you were settling, and it was sad to see, because I really wanted that win for that coach.
Yeah, he's just I think a fan favorite coach. We mentioned it yesterday. Back in 2016, there was a video that went around social media, like just how awesome of a guy to have him show up on campus and just go around just getting people to try to show up to the game. To you flash forward to 2025, and Houston is a elite program, but they just haven't been able to win it, and this would mean a lot for that program. Where do you think does this reset the bar for Houston going forward, or what's your confidence level that those guys can kind of bounce back?
I think they'll bounce back. I think Houston is a premier spot to be as long as that coach is down there. Athletes are going to want to go down there to play. I mean, it's a wonderful city. You write on the bricks of of the city limits. Like, I mean, the college isn't too far from, like, the middle of town. He's gonna have athletes going to the next level. He's gonna have players, playing right and everything like that. So I think that's definitely gonna be a hot destination. I mean, it's gonna sell itself. It's hot all year round. You're gonna put in your work. He's gonna let you play the style of basketball that he allows his athletes to play. I think it's gonna be a very desirable destination.
Yeah, great sports city all around, from the pro teams to the college teams. And Houston basketball has done a good job at like making themselves one of the more prominent sports around. Again, you go back 2016, wasn't the case, but 2025 certainly is. The question is like, as long as Sampson's there, if you're Houston, that's the one thing you're sweating about. I don't think he's going to retire after this year. Well, I mean, he might, but I think he'll keep pushing for it for quite a few more years. But as soon as he does decide to hang it up, that's where Houston's in a bit of trouble themselves to find that next great head coach. Because we talked about it yesterday a little bit of where he might rank in today's college basketball coaches, but he's certainly one of the best out there.
For sure.
And as long as he's on that program, like, will they be a 1 seed? I don't know. Will they be a tournament team? Absolutely. Like, you just have a ton of confidence in that program. What about Florida? First time they won it back since you have to go mid 2000s. I believe it was the last time they hoisted up March Madness trophy.
I mean, neither team had, a huge prospect. It was all dudes that came there and worked in jail. So, I mean, Gainesville, again, SEC, you in a one of the better 2 or better 3 conferences to play basketball. I mean, it's hot all year round. Florida has some money to spend, so I mean, that coach, has an eye with them winning, that national championship and everything like that. It's a bargaining chip, so he can walk into some places and say, with these guys, look what I did. Just imagine what we could get back to if you did have 4 or 5 stars, or if you did have top JUCO prospects, if you did have top prospects coming out of the transfer portal. So I mean, he has to be consistent with that, but he definitely put Florida on the map for the SEC. He's definitely painted a target on their back, and I mean, it's a nice destination. It's not city-wise like Houston, but I mean, Gainesville is still nice.
Yeah, and you got Todd Golden as your head coach. He's only 39 years old. That's a young coach in college basketball. Like, gives you a pretty good feeling. I think for players, easy to relate to, but also, he's likely going to be there for a little while longer. He's young, 39 years old, like I said. I think he's definitely not the youngest to ever win it, but he's certainly up there on the board. 39 years old, I'd have to go back and look at it. But yeah, you got a great head coach, and he's probably going to be there for a while longer. So their recruiting is just going to get only easier. And like you said, Gainesville, not a bad place to be either. Let's talk Nebraska basketball before we wrap up segment 1, though. They do go ahead and land Jamarcus Lawrence. He's back. After he transferred out, you had, whether it was just Josiah Alec when Nebraska kind of switched to playing 2 bigs, and that moved Lawrence to the bench, whether that was kind of the reason why he left the first time. But if he is coming back, it makes me wonder, like, did Hoiberg commit to now we're going back to just the 1 big system after what he experienced with Cale Jacobson and running a little bit more of a traditional lineup out there in the college basketball crown? Just thoughts on Lawrence coming back, and then we'll talk about what maybe.
Sometimes the grass ain't greener always, but he came to his senses. He can be a pivotal piece. It's a nice addition. Again, he's been making moves. They've been adding pieces. So hopefully he can come in. He can contribute. He's gone out there, seen something differently. Matured maybe, or expecting whatever it may be. So hopefully he adds to the mix.
Yeah, and this his last year versus Rhode Island was his best shooting year from the 3-point line in particular. He shot about 40%, 87% from the free throw line, which is always really great indication that he is all that in terms of being a good shooter. Only about 10 points a game. Didn't do a whole lot outside of that. 2.5 assists, 2 rebounds. The thing for Nebraska is, what are you asking him to do? If you're asking him to just be another weapon offensively, then you got another 3-point shooter. You got another guy who's definitely a good slasher, a little bit more athletic. He fits the role perfectly fine. To me, it's how much does he move the needle? And obviously, this isn't the only guy Nebraska is going to grab.
I said it's definitely a couple steps in the right direction. It's not a terrible ad, but you still have to continue to build. He's a guy that's going to come in here and compete. You can never have enough shooters. You can be on the floor if you got three and they're all hitting at the same time, or he can start something and slash. I think he brings to the table, getting to the basket, the ability and the athleticism to do it. Not to say that the other guys can't. They've shown flashes, whether at other schools or being here or whatnot. So it might be he'll be in a lot more familiar place. He might be more relaxed and kind of show a little bit more. So it definitely moves the needle.
Yeah, for me, it's just like we got a guard, an athletic guard. We needed some more athleticism on this team. Again, that March Madness championship game was like the most clear litmus test. It's like, I know even if we have a good shooting day, we do not have the athleticism to compete with those two teams. There's just no way in hell we're stopping those guys consistently, and again, you got to slowly build to that. I'm not saying we turn into Duke or Houston or or Florida next year, but we do need to start taking baby steps in that direction. And this year in particular, off season, there's a lot of places to kind of plug and fill. Jamarcus Lawrence, get him back home. I like it. Get another athlete in here, another guy who can handle the ball, which is going to be another spot, because I like Sam Hoiberg, but what's the ceiling on his role next year? Because as good as he is, he does have a turnover problem. And I say that simply because, like, as much as you like Sam Hoiberg and he's a good player, I'm not saying take away his minutes. I don't want him to be
I think he definitely has to make his minutes count a little bit more than what he's shown. Mm-hmm. If that's better shot selection, if that's creating more steals that leads to assists or buckets or transition, just maximize what you do well and try and minimize what you what's been a problem or an issue. Be in better situations, not necessarily chucking threes. If that's getting into the lane and dishing out for setting up shooters and everything like that, or setting up the big man in times and situations, if with him coming off the bench or whatnot, if that's what it is, just execute that more effectively and efficiently.
Yeah, for me, it's the biggest thing for him is just like ball handling. Just get more and more secure with that. And I think it's not even that he has like ball handling skills. I just think sometimes when he gets caught in those turnovers, he's already a shorter guy and he tries to force those passes, tries to get him out maybe a little too quick and just getting impatient with it. That's normally where I see him, where he does a good job getting inside and then he gets there and he doesn't know where to go with it. Get a little bit better ball handling. You can always just pull it back out if you don't like what you have there. But that's why I like Jamarcus Lawrence. It takes some pressure off of a guy like Hoiberg, who I don't think that's really his game. That doesn't best suit him. He's a good shooter. He's very selective in his shot. You might almost want him to shoot more at times. But for me, you improve those ball handling skills. You can find yourself some more open spaces and you look for a little bit more than just those 3-point balls. I think he's a little bit hesitant sometimes to shoot inside, obviously for his height, but ceiling wise, it's not super high, but just more steps in that right direction. Good defense as he's done, kind of that cohesive piece.
He's a glue guy. He's an energy guy. Like I said, it's not bashing on him, but it's just like I said, just be a little bit more consistent with what you do bring to the table.
Yeah, I think it's the best way to say it. Wasn't a bad season by any means.
No.
A little more consistency, and that goes, being real, that goes for the entire Nebraska ball team. That is
for
sure. The story of those guys all year was inconsistency was the problem. With that being said, though, we'll throw it to break. And the morning, I'll ask you before we go to break. Did you hear about the Denver news?
Listen, I don't understand it. I don't get it. For what reason? Like y'all were a NBA championship team. Like y'all have a finals trophy with that coaching staff and GM. So I don't understand why now when playoffs are literally right around the corner.
I don't either. We're going to talk about that because it makes zero sense to me. Yes, Malone fired, head coach of the Denver Nuggets right before the playoffs. We'll talk about that. Don't go anywhere. Don't Punt Tower with the morning Pierson-El.
At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just their professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at pahlincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital. Your pet, their passion for happier, healthier, furry friends.
A lot of businesses say they're family focused, but when tough situations in life arise, the business wants anything but your best interests. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring, and they will always treat their employees like family, just as they do their customers. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring Class A and B CDL drivers, a shop tech, and a diesel mechanic. If you're looking for a career with a company that goes above and beyond to value you and your family, apply today at jamesenterpriseinc.com or call 402-432-6740.
When opportunity knocks, you don't want to miss the call. Hamilton Business Technologies makes communication easy and efficient using customized technology, all while putting people first. Whether you're working from the office, at home, or on the go, Hamilton Business Technologies equips your business with the right tools for smooth, professional call handling. Hamilton Business Technologies. Real people, real technology solutions. Learn more at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
LES wants your feedback. Help shape your electric utility's direction and priorities by taking an anonymous online survey. Make your voice heard before the survey closes on April 30th at les.com/survey.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Spring is here. It's time to get back outside and into proper shoes this year. Brown's Shoe Fit is the place to buy this spring with their sale on athletic shoes. Get $15 off any regular priced athletic shoes with respected brands like Hoka, Brooks, New Balance, and On Running. And don't forget, Brown's carries a large arrangement of sizes and widths to fit your feet properly. Start your spring off right at Brown's Shoe Fit, just south of 66th and Q in Lincoln. Spring is the time of new beginnings and trying new things. If you haven't tried Führer's cheese spread yet, the time is now. For parties for St. Patrick's Day and Easter or celebrating the NCAA tournament with friends, there's no better dip to bring everyone together and celebrate something from Nebraska. Get to your local grocery store today and load up on Führer's cheese spread. No event or party is complete without it on your table.
John Henry's has a brand new membership club to protect your entire home in one program. With a VIP and a deluxe option, we will help you find the plan that best fits your needs. Receive discounts on services and equipment, priority service, complimentary inspections, and so much more. Protect your home's plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical systems all in one membership. Call John Henry's to learn more.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
And electrical.
Perch Merch is your one-stop shop for all your printing and promotional needs in Lincoln, Nebraska. They specialize in screen printing, embroidery, vehicle wraps, window wraps, print collateral, promotional products, and signage. At Perch Merch, they are committed to delivering high-quality products and exceptional customer service. Their experienced team of designers and printing professionals will work with you every step of the way to ensure that your vision is realized. Call for a quote today at 402-217-5212 or go to perch-merch.com.
Your new Total Wine in Lincoln has the largest selection of wines, spirits, and beers, plus totally low prices and friendly service from our helpful guides. With over 8,000 wines, 4,500 spirits, and 2,500 beers, you're sure to find your favorites and something new. You can even order delivery, in-store, or curbside pickup. Find what you love what you find, only at Total Wine and More. Now open in Lincoln next to Gateway Mall.
Drink responsibly, B21.
This is the Don't Punt Hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Demorne Pierson-El.
All right, welcome back in. Segment number 2, Don't Punt Hour. We got the host, as always, Demorne Pierson-El, joining me via stream. You guys can join in the text line as well as the streams. We're going to talk a little bit NBA here because it's been a chaotic year in the NBA to say the very least. We didn't talk about it, but it started off with Taylor Jenkins of the Grizzlies, who got fired on March 28th. And if that wasn't late enough, and by the way, standings-wise, the Grizzlies, I couldn't tell you what they were on the 28th, but they were still within playoff. Their Grizzlies today are 46-32, but they fired their head coach on the 28th. And the Nuggets, in the 4th seed, 47-32, they just fired Malone. The greatest coach probably to go through that organization just got canned. I obviously didn't see it coming. I don't think anybody did.
No, not right now. Maybe you let it ride through the playoffs and then after the season, but I mean,
and their GM is gone as well. I should say they both got canned. So the GM and the head coach.
I mean, they're producing MVPs. You are a playoff team. Now I understand that you might not be the number 1 seed or anything like that, but I mean, the Nuggets are definitely in their prime right now. Like, and you want to move off of that? I don't. I know last year went the way it went, but he still wasn't doing enough for him to keep his job when y'all are literally in the midst of it.
Well, it's just it. Like, you're in the loaded Western Conference right now. We did the exercise yesterday. Like, everybody's 46-32, and Nuggets are 47-32. Kings, it takes the 9th seed till you get to a significant drop off of 7 wins, 39-40, but everyone's like right there in the middle of it. Like, it's just a competitive year. The Nuggets, to me, aren't, missing expectations by any means. Like, the roster's worse. They don't have guys like they did in years past. There were kind of those X factors. Caldwell Pope, really the big one. Bruce Brown, another one that they let go, along with a few other just key role players. And Jokic is, he's playing another MVP caliber season. The real dilemma and why people are saying he got fired is that the players weren't listening to him anymore. And the answer is you just need a new voice, but I'm not doing that
right in the midst of things.
Coach. And I'm not doing that to Malone. That's one thing if it's a coach who came in there and it's just not working anymore and he had one kind of good season and then the next season it just kind of faded away.
This man won you a finals trophy, a championship.
Mm-hmm. And found and developed Jokic into being what he is today. It's the same thing that blew my mind with Budenholzer with the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, what are you guys doing? You find
exactly same thing.
But at least the Bucks had, well, no, I shouldn't say at least because they fired him after a family tragedy, but at least they waited for the playoffs. To me, this is, you just don't do unless there is reasons that are dark that I don't know about. You don't do that
right now.
Coach who has elevated your team to the spotlight and is in position to do it again this year, but you fired him before you even know the end result.
Who do you? How does if they're not listening to, if they're not listening or following the coach's voice, whose voice are they going to follow now? Especially with the one person at least they can at least take some type of direction from. Who's that going to come from? Now?
Jokic now, but Jokic does he seem like the social guy that wants to do the coaching? No.
As long if it don't involve horse racing, no.
No, that's exactly it. Like Jokic, he's a brilliant basketball mind. He's not like LeBron James though. Or I don't think he wants to call the shots. I don't think he wants to be the vocal leader on the team. He just wants the guys to know what they're doing, and that's the coach to inform those guys. And you heard some of those comments from Malone talking about the guys not watching film, being really upset with some of the players on his own roster. And you can critique Malone for that, but at the same time, you got to, I'm getting rid of Booth before I touch Malone. I'm getting rid of the GM. Like, if there's some sort of quarrel between my GM and the head coach, I'm going to trust the head coach that got me the title and developed Jokic into a multiple MVP winner and and Jamal Murray became this playoff.
What y'all drafted him to be. Something like you hoped his ceiling would be this, and he's definitely pushed through all expectations coming off of injury.
Yeah, and again, that's where maybe it's tough because you give Booth a little bit of credit for that as well. I'm not sure how involved he was in the scouting process, but if you had a hand on that, then sure. Yeah, I just don't. It just stinks. I feel terrible about him.
Who would be a good candidate, I guess, to replace that?
Doc Rivers. No, I'm just kidding. I don't. It just amazes me we live in an NBA world where guys like Budenholzer and Malone can't keep their job, but Doc Rivers never has any issues holding on to it year after year. And at least for Doc Rivers,
Doc Rivers won his last championship, what, 08, 09 maybe?
Yeah. That even late 2000s. Or before 2010. So it's just, I have this problem with the NBA in particular a lot, is the coaching carousel makes zero sense half the time. Like, there's so many teams where I think if they just would have held on to a coach, they would have much more success, and they always let him go and get him fired. Like, even Steve Kerr, when the Warriors fell out of the playoffs, and then the next year they made the playoffs and ended up winning the entire thing. Just that one bad year, you had some Warriors fans like starting to question Steve Kerr if he's the right guy for the job. And how quick people are to forget everything that they've built. But so Malone, he built the entire foundation of that Nuggets organization. Has a great record with them. Once again, projected 4 seed, could move up a little bit. They won't catch the Nuggets, but they can catch the Lakers, possibly a 3 seed. And what is just the loaded Western Conference. And he's canned. So Chicago Bulls, I wouldn't mind picking up the phone and seeing what that costs. I know Billy Donovan and the Bulls have been playing okay down the stretch here, but there's going to be a lot of coaches eager to hire Malone. I'll say that much.
Easily. Washington, hello. You know, and if I'm Malone, I'm going somewhere on the East. I don't even want to be on the West.
No, I certainly wouldn't want to be on the West. The East has been open forever. And like, obviously the Celtics, they're the team you think of, and the Cavaliers are kind of new in that, but you're still not really afraid of the Knicks like that yet. You're not really afraid of the Pacers, even the Bucks, who Giannis Antetokounmpo is a force who can drop 30, he's the guy who can drop 30, 15 on you on any given night. But outside of that, especially, if Drew Holiday, if they have anybody that's hurt, or excuse me, not Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday's on the Celtics now. And Chris Middleton's not even there either. It's Damian Lillard.
Middleton gone too. He got traded.
That whole roster's different. But they're a team where, don't forget your guy, Kyle Kuzma. He's on that roster. They're just pretty shallow.
Your guy's not my guy.
I'm a big fan of him when he was on the Wizards. The Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole show. But no, it's
terrible.
I'm just perplexed by it. The Nuggets, I liked them coming out of the West. I did. After this, I do not like that anymore. As much as I think Jokic is a great player, I mean, you're firing your head coach. I'm just games away before the postseason. Who do you like out of the Western
Conference? I mean, you got what, 7-8 days left, maybe?
Yeah, it's right there.
No, what is that setting the tone with your team though? Like, like that morale might be gone. You might mess chemistry up regardless of them. Maybe not listening to them and everything like that. They still were getting the job done. It's not like they were playing terrible.
Yeah, but they weren't watching film. So the next coach to come in there and tell everybody to watch film, they're going to listen to him.
Good luck.
Not the guy who won a championship and is the figurehead of that organization. They'll listen to the new guy who just came in. Sometimes a new voice is the right answer, not when you got an icon coach for you at that point. And maybe it wouldn't be an icon if it was the Lakers, if it was the Bulls, but you're talking about the Nuggets, organization that even when they had Stockton and Malone, they're not seeing that kind of success.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, I'm thinking of the Jazz, but
I know you talking about Carmelo and AI.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, not Stockton Malone. But another duo that definitely deserved one. But it just, I can't make any sense of it. And now I was optimistic on the Nuggets in the playoffs, because I do think coaching, that's where you can argue how much coaches matter in the NBA. In that,
they matter.
Playoffs is when it really matters. When you don't have that head coach, it changes a lot.
Could we see the Nuggets get knocked out first round because of this?
100%.
Do they make you as nervous or as scared as they have been in the past?
No. That's why this makes this year has just made zero sense from the NBA. It feels like it's more WWE than the NBA. because the Luka trade makes 0 sense. That I still have zero idea how that happened. Doc Rivers getting job after job makes 0 sense. Malone getting fired. Budenholzer getting fired. Like all these moves. Frank Vogel, when he got fired by the Lakers after AD and LeBron were hurt. And I know that wasn't this year, but it's just like there's been a lot of weirdness this year on the top of the West and everyone just being on top of each other. To see the Grizzlies in Denver panic the way they did, unless there's just more to the story that I don't know, that it was so bad that something actually happened where they just had to do it. But I don't see anything that says it that way. And, you know, the Nuggets essentially just let him go, said they appreciate it, and they have utmost respect for him, which isn't true because they would have kept him on the job.
Exactly. I mean, at least allow him to finish the season. You and y'all are not bad. I mean, what happens if things shake out and they finish second in the West?
Well, they can't finish. Yeah, they won't catch the Rockets, but they can still finish third. And even then, it's just there's not a whole lot of wiggle room. And we talked about these Western Conference. I mean, DeMarne Pierson-El at this point doesn't really matter in the West between if you're playing the Warriors, the Timberwolves, the Grizzlies, or the Nuggets, or the Lakers, or the Rockets, or the Thunder. Like, doesn't matter in the West anymore.
I would think so. Certain matchups and everything like that. There's certain teams that you wouldn't want to see.
Certainly, but it might mean you slide down even or move up a little bit. That's how close the West is. So, you know, seeding wise, as long as they don't, they'll be all right.
Now I'm like, would you rather see a Denver versus the Warriors? You know what I'm saying? I think the Warriors are going to step things up. I would much rather take Denver right now than playing the Warriors. Playoff Jimmy with Kerr and Steph? No, thank you. Nope.
Well, the way it sits right now, the Nuggets would have the Clippers. And the Clippers I never am confident in.
They're a solid team, but I mean, I don't expect them to get out of no further than round 2, if that.
Yeah, they're 8 of their last 2. And again, the Nuggets have been slipping a lot lately. 3 of their last 7. And they panicked and fired their head coach as a result of it right before the playoffs started. Yeah, the Clippers are pretty good. I just, until Ben Simmons becomes that third guy, I'm not picking them at all. Like, I like James Harden. I like Kawhi Leonard, but Kawhi Leonard's also injury prone. James Harden's had some moments in the playoffs, and Ben Simmons certainly had moments in the playoffs. I don't trust Ben. I don't trust James Harden, and I only trust Kawhi if he's healthy, and that's the reason why.
3 strikes, they're out then, huh?
Yeah, there you go. The Warriors are fun because Steph Curry is just people forget about how good he is.
Again, and like I said, with adding jibbing to that, and you know, Draymond doesn't have to do all what he has to do all by himself. You know, Jimmy can muscle and throw some things around, and Steph can still do his thing. That is a lethal combination.
Yeah, and then I'm looking at all the other teams in here. Grizzlies are interesting as well because they've kind of the Nuggets and Grizzlies just panic so much. Because the Grizzlies on a little bit of losing skid, they were slipping down the Western Conference like pretty significantly. But again, I think that's normal this year. The West is just that good. You don't panic when you run into a little bad stretch, especially over the course of an 82 regular game season. They did, and they fired their head coach. Same thing with the Nuggets. They get a little bit of rough stretch down the regular season, and they just panic and fire their head coach. I'm using the word panic. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a legitimate reason. But until I hear legitimate reason, I'm going to call it a panic move because it's just, I don't know. I take one wild swing at it. Why would you fire Malone? If you had to make a reason, why are you doing
it? Somebody's pissed off with certain things, and the results are not coming in, and some back and forth might have been going on, and you know what? They just wanted to cut ties. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah,
you said you said the wrong thing to the wrong person at the wrong time, and you know they had enough. You were already on thin ice carrying a piano, and that was the last straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, I just who would he?
I don't understand how. I don't understand how with what he's been able to do over the years, how successful they've been. Regardless of the situation, like I said, I understand, you know, last year happens, but, you know, that was a younger team. Like, you know, that it's not supposed to happen or anything like that. But I mean, they were a few games away from going to the NBA Finals themselves. Like, you know, that you're talking about a person that can arguably be the face of the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Like you win some, you lose some. You know, and it was a gauntlet playing in the West.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then, you know, like I said, I don't think Jokic is a sensitive type to where if Malone said something, Jokic is going to request that he gets fired. And Jokic came out and said that no, he didn't. He was made aware of it before it was made public, but he had nothing to put that
to do with it.
Yeah, he wasn't the guy that said I want Malone or I want Booth out of here. He was informed it was happening, but I'm curious what his response was. I'd imagine his relationship with Malone's pretty good, considering what Malone has built that team around him. But yeah, I just can't find an excuse to save my life right before the playoffs. I mean, they brought you to a Game 7 versus the Timberwolves last year. That was a really good Timberwolves team. And, you know, you tip your cap to the Timberwolves in that series last year. Like, I didn't watch a Nuggets team that looked bad. I saw a Nuggets team that started slow but overcame a lot of deficits in the Game 7. It was the reverse of that state. They started off, I think, leading like 20 at one point, and then the Timberwolves came back in Game 7 in that second half. So I can't find any excuse to save my life. That's all I really got on it. We're going to have to wait for more information on it. But as it sits right now, we're going to skip that break, so stream it only anyways. I ask this every week, and it gets more interesting because coaches get fired for feels like no reason. Who is the best in the West now?
Are we still counting Pop or no?
Popovich? Spurs are out.
I mean, I still think he's a heck of a coach.
I mean, best in the West is in teams, not just coaches. Teams do make the Western.
That's why I asked. I said, are we, that's why I asked.
Okay, yeah. No, we're not talking like coaches.
Honestly, I was. Ooh, I think it would be a toss up between the Rockets coach, just because he's been there before, his experience and what he was able to do with young guys, and Kerr. Again, you got an older team, the team that lost some things and whatnot, and I know they're not what they were and everything like that, but he still has them firing on all cylinders. That's still a team you have to worry about, and that's not an easy matchup for anybody. So I think between one of those two coaches, I don't want to say JJ just yet because, I mean, it's still early in his career. I know he's a heck of a player. I know the things he's done and everything like that. It's just some time has to pass with him being on the coaching side of things.
Yeah, I mean, you could pick any of these guys 1 through 8 here, and you feel pretty good about it.
I would say the Rockets coach, just because of how short it's been and what he's able to accomplish in a short time.
Yeah, and he already had a pretty good coaching pedigree coming over from the Celtics, and I won't go into details of Udoka and how he wound up out of there, but he did, and he found a home in the Rockets, and it's been pretty successful for him. He might be the best coach in the West right now. I mean, you get to go throw guys.
The only thing that, you know, Kerr, I would say, has over him is just, you know, rings and experience, you know, doing it longer and whatnot. But like I said, the fact of what he was able to do in a short amount of time with a young team, like you know, to be where they are, like, you can't overlook that.
No, you absolutely can't. And if I really pick, I might even. Udoka was the one that helped the Celtics finally get through Game 7, right? In the Eastern Conference Finals?
Yes.
Give me a Rockets year. I think that might be the year the Rockets sneak out and really piss OKC fans off because they'll be the ones doing it early when they're not supposed to, just to get to the finals. And lose
it depends on who their path up, like what their path is with getting to the Western Conference Finals. Who do they see early? Because, I mean, you know,
could be anyone. That's the problem with picking the West right now.
Let's just say, you know, if they see the Warriors, how we've seen OKC kind of get knocked out because of inexperience, that could happen. If they see the Lakers, again, they could get, you know, knocked out just because of inexperience type situation. Not saying that they're not talented and everything like that. It's just different, you know, first time being there. You know, routine wise and everything like that, understanding, you know, what your body got to do, corrections, stopping certain things that you've seen after game 2 and 3, it's just different with young guys. The coach may know, necessarily what to do, but the athletes have to get a better understanding. So I think that's where I think that's like their Achilles heel, honestly. It's just experience with being in that situation.
Yeah, and history will say you're right. That has always been the Achilles heel. I'm just kind of leaning right because it just feels like a year of chaos. It feels a little bit like the year the Heat made it all the way to the finals after being the 8th seed. I know the Rockets are a 2 seed.
They're
52 wins in the West that we're talking about.
The Heat was a veteran team, though. Like that again, like you have veteran guys there. Like that's the one thing I say. Like the Rockets really don't have.
But they have a head coach, and if they draw the Grizzlies or the Nuggets, they got that on them.
Yeah, but again, you said the Grizzlies. That's still a veteran team. They've still had playoff experience with the coach, or what if not. Ja understands what it has to be and whatnot, what it takes. You said with Grizzlies or who else?
Yeah, Grizzlies, Nuggets are the 2 teams in the West that.
The Nuggets are you're playing against a former championship team. A lot of the dudes that are still on that team were on the team that won a championship. So again, experience of how to do stuff and everything. It's like, yeah, you young, but you might not, understand the magnitude of things. You might get burnt out. You might get, too tired with stuff and everything like that. So it's playing chess, and they might not be ready and experienced in that. Now they could and hit things off. I'm not saying they can't, but we seen that with OKC twice.
Mm-hmm.
And we said, oh, in a few years they're going to be an issue, and
we've been saying that for a long time now.
We'll see if this year, if they finally follow through on that. We don't know. They exited out last year before then. Oh, that team's coming, this and that. I mean, so it's just we're going to see.
Yeah, hopefully OKC does make a deep run this year, though. Out of all the NBA organizations that deserve postseason runs, OKC always is up there. Like when you watch OKC in playoffs, it is always packed. They got the T-shirts out for every single game for the fans. And it feels like the closest thing you'll get to a March Madness atmosphere. Something about OKC. Like those games, and it wasn't just the Harden, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook era, although that definitely sparked the hell out of it.
For sure.
That carried on. And then Russell Westbrook kept that thing going, and it's just become an awesome basketball city. So I wouldn't hate seeing the Thunder go far. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised seeing any of these teams make a run. I think the most fun story is like you see just a psychotic Jokic, and he somehow takes over and just finds another level to his game. But at that point, it feels nearly impossible. I'm just going to throw it out there. I got zero confidence on this. I'm going to go Rockets Celtics for my finals, but that's where I'm going with. The West is absolute chaos. The East you feel a lot better about. Who do you got coming out of the East as we get out of here?
So,
Cleveland.
Celtics? Cleveland.
Cleveland? I mean, Cleveland is like, you can't scoff at 62 wins. 62 and 16 to say, even if you're in the East.
They're not scared of Boston. They know what it takes. They played them, So I think Cleveland could do it.
I like it. We'll talk about it more. NBA playoffs right around the corner. A couple teams don't have head coaches for it, though, as we mentioned earlier in the show. Good morning, Pierson-El. Appreciate the time as always. Striking up a conversation coming up next.